Since I am on a roll with these thoughts that are just fluidly just coming to my mind, and I'm just fluidly just saying it, and it's just hitting on the spot without me rambling, I'm going to try my hand at accurately defining why Black Lives Matter, and it's not in opposition to white lives, Asian lives, or anybody else's lives. It is just a hyper focus on the lives of Blacks who oftentimes find their lives either cut short, or their lives are kind of like a dream deferred, where if it wasn't for poverty, systematic racism, and things of that nature, what that life could have been. And even in the face of oppression and subjugation, their lives is still cut short because of brutality, in particular police brutality. So Black Lives Matter because white lives already do. That's the title. Black Lives Matter because white lives already do. And what I mean by that is the fact that we live in a society that is hyper focused on otherism. Everything is polar opposites: left, right, up, down, black, white, woman, man. There's always this hierarchy aspect, right? White people, whether racist, not racist, leftist, rightist, most white people are so normalized to see whiteness as the standard that even when we talk about skin tone, clothing, or even makeup foundation, white people for the very longest did not think, when they identified nude with a paler skin tone, that calling that nude and calling that natural is in opposition to those who are darker skinned. It took white companies, and still to this day, a lot of them do still struggle with variety when it comes to skin tone, because in the white mind, whiteness is the norm. Whiteness is the standard. So of course a nude color will be a pale color. Of course a natural color will be a pale color. Because to white folks, life is white and white is right. AKA white is right. And therefore, by virtue of white being right, left is other, left is the enemy, and left is bad. So everybody who does not fit into the hierarchy of white, male, Anglo-Saxon is automatically a threat under the guise of white is right. By virtue of white being right, everything that is not white is left and wrong and bad by virtue. And even though it is not said that black is wrong, brown is wrong, yellow is wrong, red is wrong, it's the implication that is wrong because the standard is white. So in regards to Black Lives Matter, why there is such a collective energy behind Black Lives Matter, it's not in opposition to white lives or any other lives. It's to bring focus to the lives of blacks, and to really factor in why the lives of blacks are so poverty stricken, why there is so much death, why is there so much debt, why is there so much dysfunction, why is there such lack, even when it comes to food deserts, like why is that a thing? And once you start peeling back the layers and you see it's systematic with redlining, with predatory lending and loans, with all these other systematic legislations that were put into place, has worked generation upon generation to hold black people in a subjugated position. Look at even homes. Most homeowners are white. That's not to say black people love living in apartments, black people don't want to own property. That's because when a lot of whites, especially after World War II, they were able to get housing. They were able to get government housing and loans that were more favorable to veterans. This is how suburbia became a thing. They literally built communities for white people. in ways that they did not do for black vets. Black vets put their bodies on the line in Korea, put their bodies on the line in Vietnam, put their bodies in the line during World War I and World War II. There is literally facts, historical facts. There is literally no American war where a Negro was not involved in it. Literally. And in every single one of those wars, they were still seen as something other, even though they were working on the American side. So much so during Vietnam soldiers would tell black soldiers, black man, go home. This is not your war. But still came back to the United States and was told, you're still a N-word, hard ER, and we're not going to give you the same loans that are going to be able to springboard you into middle class. So your kids won't be stuck with paying a rent or a mortgage. They'll be able to own the home. So you pass it down generation to generation. So that rent money isn't being spent because you own your home. That mortgage money isn't being spent because you own your home. So that extra money you can invest it in whatever. A dream deferred. So tell me again how black people have to pull themselves by that proverbial bootstrap. The bootstrap that white America, especially white veterans, benefited from, that literally lifted them straight up into middle class and a newly invented category of middle class. Whereas black people, they didn't have that booster. They didn't have that comeuppings. They didn't have the benefits of the New Deal. They didn't have a GI Bill that they could use to shield them and propagate them into a better social economic class up the social ladder. So there's that. Hence why we say Black Lives Matter. That's on a systematic point of view. We're not even touching upon police brutality. It's not in regards to say no one else lives matter. It's to say, hey, by the way, have you noticed the subjugation of blacks? Have you noticed the oppression of blacks? By the way, our lives matter too. We don't like just being on the bottom because we just like being on the bottom. But these are in the ways the system works against us. And that's where we are. And as an ally, as a human, regardless of race, if you have a moral compass, shouldn't you align with your fellow human and assist them out of that subjugation, assist them out of the bucket so they will no longer be crabs in it? But somehow, some way, it turns into race baiting because y'all are deeply unserious. And I'm seriously questioning if a lot of y'all truly are human. Do you truly possess a soul? Where is your humanity? And because white people who happen to run the system of white supremacy and racism and imperialism and have participated and still to this day, of course, not every single white person, but like, hey, it's the winning team for the collective. Because you don't see this as an issue, it automatically puts in the heads, especially the children, because the children are soaking up this information. The doll test still stands as a marker of what the horrors of white supremacy does to the young developing mind, right? Our minds don't even fully develop by the age of 25. And we already have this hate complex. We already have this inferiority complex. Just like Malcolm X said, who taught you to hate yourself? Just like Marcus Garvey said, get the kinks out your head instead of your hair.
Who taught you, please, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you? teach you to love the hair that God gave you.
May I say something to you to give you a true knowledge of yourself and life, so that the same glory and success attained by other men who understand themselves may be yours? Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man in lacking the knowledge that man is used to beautify the world and produce all that he needs for his happiness and civilization. Look the world over, and whatever you see in it that is pleasing to man, contributing to man's comfort, to his needs and to his satisfaction, it is but the work of man. Man blessed with the knowledge of himself and the understanding of all things around him. If you are able to live with the knowledge of yourself and with the greater knowledge of nature, you must know what is good and what is not. You must know what is finite. You must know that which is material, physical, and otherwise is at your disposal to create or otherwise use. If we leave America and go over to the east to Japan, they will be telling their fellow citizens of Japan of the wonderful accomplishments of the Japanese people, proving that man is moving onward as time moves on. But you have hated yourselves as you have done in previous years. You have shown malice, prejudice, and hate to each other. And the result is that while other races have made progress, while India has made progress towards nationalism, while Ireland has made progress towards republicanism, while the whole world has made progress in man's accomplishments, you still stand fighting yourselves, dishonoring yourselves, showing no disposition toward that higher life so that you will be abundantly blessed. So reflect and think that you were created for some purpose other than exhibiting malice toward your neighbor or fellow men of your own race. What a pity it is that we cannot stand united without a written law. There is no written law compelling other races to stand together. They are brought together by the gentle touch of nature. The unwritten law of nature causes them to stand together on all occasions. So wheresoever you find them in the field, that one gentle touch of nature causes them to stand together, if need be, die together. But with the black man, you can preach to him from the pulpits. You lecture from the platforms, from the byways and the hedges. The spirit of cooperation, but he will not cooperate. You talk to him gently, you try talking harshly to him, he still will not cooperate. The result is that he falls prey to those who understand themselves and walk through the world making you their serfs and slaves. You must acquire an understanding of yourselves. Look around you. See the smiling pictures of nature, the beautiful hedges, the wonderful mountains, the wonderful vegetation all around. But because of your disposition to each other, you live in suffering, in want, in penury, and in debt. You lack the gentle touch of nature, love for each other. You hate yourselves. Black men, and what is wrong with you? Why have you no affection for yourselves? Could I hope to see you living among yourselves as the people I've spoken of? Living in charity, love, and in sympathy with each other? It can be done. I wonder if you will adapt that course. Isn't it easier to enjoy prosperity than to live in ignorance and darkness? Why select the worst out of nature? Nature never gave pain, suffering, and death to the world. It was man himself who selected death, pain, and sorrow. I wonder if I cannot inspire you to select between good and evil. Let me impress upon you once again that whatsoever your hardships may be, whatsoever your difficulties in life, they are your own selection. And so if you encourage them, if you husband them and take them to your bosom, they will abide with you. Nature will not take them away from you as Mother Nature did not give them to you. She is not responsible for your sorrows. Mother Nature represents all that is beautiful. She gave you the highest personality in the realm divine. Your sorrows are your own. If you want joy, if you want sunshine, it is before you abundantly in nature. I made a selection of sunshine, the beautiful sunshine. I made a selection to laugh with the moon, to laugh with the stars, and sing with the birds of the forest and of the wilderness, to join in the rhythmic music of the winds that sing from east to west and from north to south. Had I selected sorrow, I would have been dead a long time ago, and been without that which would send me into the presence of the divine, because I would have lived not with the knowledge that is divine. We must acquire the higher knowledge of life. Black men and black women, will you get the knowledge that the white man has that causes him to be leaders and masters in the world? They are not gods with a peculiar source for understanding the world around them. They have only given expression to the knowledge of their humanity and been able to use and conquer all to their satisfaction and glory. And that is why they are always greater than you in every community that you find them. Isn't it strange that wheresoever the white man is found, he takes precedence over you? Why is that so? Answer that for yourselves, black men and black women. Wheresoever you come in contact with the white man, you always have to go down in defeat before him. Whether it be in England, in France, or in America, you always have to go down to the white man, and yet he has 2 eyes, 2 feet, 2 hands, same passions, same senses and feelings as you have. Your feet are not put on opposite sides, now your hands turned around the other way. But it's because you fail to use your will, your knowledge, and your mental faculties to the point where you will enjoy life around you. I'm only here and not in the gutters and in the pond of despair because I use my intelligence. And I swear that no man alive shall ever use his intelligence in understanding the works of nature more than I. I shall rise as high as he ascends. I shall meet him on the same platform of mental equality and fight him till thy kingdom come, because nature created us equal. I want you to make up your mind as I've made up my mind years ago. Make up your mind that you will rise to the knowledge of your soul. Because of your ignorance, you cannot understand and decide between good and evil. You don't know whether you're doing right or wrong. With a greater knowledge of life, you're able to appreciate all things around you. I'm able to gather you here because I understand you. Understand your neighbor, your wife, your children, and you will be able to live in harmony with each other and get the best out of life.
Right? Interestingly enough, I was flat ironing my hair because I'm natural most of the time, and I haven't done it in like 3 years, so I wanted to see the length, and I wanted to see like what would hair being straight look like around my face instead of being like a crown above my head. And I wanted to make sure that before I put the flat iron on, I have the right temperature, because I don't want to burn my hair, but I also don't want to underheat the flat iron, so I'm not stressing out my hair. I just wanted it to be fluid as much as possible. I have very thick, very coarse 4C hair. So even when I flat iron my hair, it's never that silky thing. My hair does not do silky things. It's very thick. That's just what it do. Okay? And I Google like, what is the temperature to flat iron your hair? And the first little pop-up Google response was from an article from BuzzFeed. Not BuzzFeed, something else. Some article, some Fox, BuzzFeed, Vice, one of them people. I put it in the video. And that little blurb said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me right now as I'm recording this video. It said, for normal hair, the temperature has to be around like 380 at most. But for thicker and more coarse hair, then it needs to be on like, at the highest, I believe, like 450. I wasn't going to do 450. I'm not going to try my life with 450. But I did go 415 though. And I was just like, I don't know why I'm offended, but I'm offended. And sitting in that and just rereading that paragraph over and over and over and over again, it was like, oh, because on a subconscious tip, you just told me with my natural 4C hair that my hair isn't normal, because in opposition to normal, you said more thicker and coarser hair. This 4C girly is thicker, coarser hair. So even the language that we use, it's so ingrained in us to see each other as opposites and not as solidarity, not as humans, to bring together the things that we both have shared values. We look for the opposition. And another blurb underneath that Google answer was another blurb, and it said for hair that is like, I forgot what the terminology was, but it wasn't normal. It was like thinner or average, something, then have it on a lower end, the heat for the flat iron. But if your hair tends to be more textured and coarse, then have a higher temperature hair. And I was like, perfect, absolutely perfect. And I'm not offended. Both articles said the same thing, essentially. But one article made it seem like one textured hair is normal and it doesn't need that much heat because it's quote unquote normal. But the hair that means more heat is the coarser, it's the thicker, it's the kinkier, it's the blacker. It's the afro textured hair, which is bad because it needs more heat, it needs more taming. Just by the verbiage, that's the conclusion the reader makes. Whereas the other paragraph just tells you simplistically, if you have this type of hair, this is the temperature. If you have this type of hair, this is the temperature. Not what is normal, what is not normal, or the implication of not being normal. Just if you fit into this category, this would be better for you. If you fit into this category, this would be better for you. Boom. It's just those small things that white people just do not see, because it's kind of like you're oblivious to it. It's kind of like it's invisible, like a literal atom, atom, atom. You cannot see it with the naked eye. This white supremacist system is so normal to you that you don't see how it excludes us, others, us who are not white. And by virtue, you are signaling each and every day that no, keep the kinks in your mind because there's something wrong with that hair. You're signaling every day that there is something inherently wrong with you because standard of whiteness you just cannot achieve. And if this is the standard and you cannot achieve it, then there's something inherently defective about you. And having that sit in your subconscious and having an authoritarian or fascist type of philosophy or upbringing where ignorance and old rhetoric and traditional racism is the norm, then you get some badge, you get some type of authority over a group of people that you already think are sketchy, you already see as othered. What do you think happens? And what I believe, or I hope the belief was for Black Lives Matter, at least the genesis of it, was to have these open dialogues about why do you other people who don't look like you, and why do you think the world is supposed to prioritize, is supposed to focus and make you the standard. When we're talking about it scientifically and just the numbers, white people, and I'm talking about white people from Europe, white people from Australia, white people from the United States, okay? Even white people from New Zealand, throw them in there too, are not a big enough global population to even need the world to hyper focus ourselves, us people of color on. On a global scale, white people, if you counted every single white people on this planet, you're a minority globally. But the world hyper focuses on that minority. Why is that? And why do you hold that as a standard? Why do you need that to be the standard? And even with whiteness, there's hierarchies, right? The blonde hair and the blue eyes better than the brown hair brunette. What's that about? Why is that? Even within the systems of whiteness, the difference between old money and nouveau riche, even with classism and being of elite class, there's classism within elitism. It's like, what is that? What is that? And why is it so anti-humanity, anti-inclusion, and anti-acceptance of things that are not you? Why do you need to be the standard? Black lives matter because white lives already do, by virtue of being white and having the luxury of just existing in a white supremacy system. Leave your questions, comments, likes, dislikes below, and like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see you on the next video.